I don't even know if you guys are even black people in general are frustrated, or if it's just you indoctrinated to just accept it.
We're just so used to.
That's what I mean. You know what I mean? Like,
white people not getting it.
That's what I mean. So
I
like,
just don't care. I can't care.
Exactly. Look, I think all of us. I mean, to some degree, we're all hypocrites to some degree.
We all are.
Yes.
I agree.
You know, and I would say that the one distinct thing that I can say about everybody that I associate with, friends and everything else, is that we all strive to do better.
Agreed.
And even if we have certain type of viewpoints, you know, we're trying to do better.
We're trying. I swear we're trying. I swear we're trying.
Y'all, we really trying.
I swear we're trying. We
really
are.
Trying.
We're trying. And we've gotten better. It was some dark days, boy. We've come a long way now. Thank you, Lone. We are trying.
No, I think in general, though, you know, I think once you get to the point to where you just kind of accept stuff and you disregard certain people and just like, nah, that's how it is. It's like, man, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't get mad at certain things anymore, man. I just really don't have it in me to be upset about it anymore. Because if it does not affect my everyday,
exactly,
what reason do I have to be upset about?
I'm at the age. Sorry, go ahead, Lone.
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying I'm at the age now where, I want to put this. My energy distribution is very important now. Mm-hmm. What I pay attention to, what I don't pay attention to, what I devote my time to, what I don't waste my time on. Like that, the older I get, the more important that becomes. Because I used to waste a lot of energy on stuff that had no bearing on my life, to your point about just day to day. I had to grow out of that. Because we can really waste a lot of time. Give you an example. I was the 6-paragraph person on Facebook arguing in sports groups. For what? Like, why am I writing 6 paragraphs and trying to change a grown man's opinion about some people that ain't never met us before? Like, you have to grow out of
that. You can get caught up in that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go down that rabbit hole, social media rabbit hole, where you start arguing with people that you know, one, you're probably never going to meet, and two, you're just wasting time. Like, you're not going to change that person's opinion. You have to grow out of certain stuff like that and just focus your energy and time on, things that are just conducive to your life, your daily life, and go get that bread.
And
man.
I think there's something to be said too. It's like the one thing that I want to make sure that I'm never doing. It's like a personal thing, is I don't ever want to be in a place where I feel like I get complacent about like learning about stuff just because it doesn't affect me too. You know, like, for example, I have no issues with trans people at all. Mm-hmm. But for a very long time, I had no understanding about trans-related issues because I just didn't care and it didn't affect my life. Mm-hmm. But I made a concerted effort to learn more about the issues that they were going through just so that I could be knowledgeable of it, and just so, because I don't want to be like hindering somebody's life just by happenstance, you know, and harm somebody just because I was being willfully ignorant about some
just
stuff.
Lack of knowledge.
Yeah, you know, like if I know better, then I should probably be better. And that's just kind of how I approach stuff in general, you know. And it's just like, all right, cool. Maybe I was an idiot about that stuff. All right, cool. Let me do better.
Well, I think
that's just how I approach things in general.
I respect it.
When you bring that up, I think about how a lot of times people wind up being offended. We talk about people being offended on people's behalf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? You know, like when the whole Dave Chappelle thing came up, like, they're just like, oh, I'm so offended, I'm going to give it a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. And I remember I said some things, and I actually wondered, I was like, was that hurtful? And, you know, I had the advantage, if you will, of actually talking to somebody in the trans community. And I told them what I said, and I sent them a clip of what we talked about on the show. And they were like, I don't know what all these people are getting excited about. I'm a part of that community. I thought his show was funny, and I didn't think now, once again, that's one person.
An anecdote.
That's one person. Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I don't think the most people who wanted to get offended on behalf of the trans community's behalf even did that much work.
Right. As being a white person who grew up in a white town, and I relate almost everything back to like my own path of like learning about racism and how long it took me to get there and all that stuff. So I approach all this stuff kind of from an angle of like, I know what it's like to do education of myself over 10 to 20 years. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I understand like the damage that I could have invoked just out of strictly
Willful
being ignorant, just being ignorant. So
not
like,
willful, but just being
just ignorant in general.
And the thing is, we throw that term, the word ignorant, and people get offended. But like saying someone is ignorant of something is not particularly an insult.
I agree. But you know, so I equate everything to that because I know what it's like to like how, or maybe it's just I know how it works. I know how it affects people, and so I was very, very like liberal about the stuff for a long time. I kind of got out of that stuff, and you know, again, it's like you said, to let people get offended as they're going to get offended. It's not my job to get offended for somebody
on your behalf.
Would it be?
But I will check people.
Yeah.
Would it be fair? Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
I come from the school of like sometimes I'm going to be willfully ignorant. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? I have nothing against you. You know what I mean? It's just like everybody's going to get these jokes.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
that's what I said about Dave Chappelle. Like, if he said, okay, I'm not going to tell jokes about trans people, that would be treating them special.
Exactly.
Do you want to be treated equal or do you want to be treated special? I'll treat everyone equal. I'm not going to treat anybody special.
Exactly.
The argument to that people have in general is that your stance on that comes from a place of privilege and power. Because not being trans or not, if that's even what you're talking about, it could be about anything. But like from that particular community, being cis in general is the place of privilege and power in this country. So it's just like me making black jokes in a very specific way when I'm not black. Like I wouldn't do that stuff because one, I think it's corny, but two, it's just like I don't want to do that stuff. And I see like the power element involved in that. I can't.
But I see your argument.
I can't get down with that. You know,
I was gonna ask you before I lose this train of thought. You talked about your own education. We grew up together, so your own education in terms of, you know, from a racial standpoint and where we grew up and the things that you saw, which I actually thought that was dope because I've known you so long. I was there for the progression. Right? Do you think that also when you said it's white town, but you also were from elementary school exposed and around a lot of black folks too? Did that aid in your process as you were learning and going through? Because some people, to the point where he talked about college, didn't have the opportunity to be around a lot of black folks. You, on the other hand, coming up through elementary school and middle school, you did. So you had a chance to be exposed to both worlds.
That's my argument, though. So that would be my argument. Even though I was around a lot of black people were my friends. That's who I hung around with pretty much all the time. I was involved in hip hop culture. I played basketball with a lot of black people. True. It's my entire process to learn, like actually learn this stuff. It didn't really affect it that much. It from an individualist standpoint, right? Yes, this one black person, I'm cool with them. But I didn't understand how race affected anything on a larger scale.
I see.
Right. And so like when I'm, you know, a lot of my viewpoints, even going back to like the hip hop group I was a part of, they were trying to educate me all the time.
Oh, I know.
And I was just like, I'm not trying to hear all that. It's not even that I'm not even trying to hear it. It's just, I don't understand what you guys are saying because I feel like I understand this already.
Yes.
And so like, it took me a very long time to unpack and unlearn and to do all that stuff. And if somebody who has had black friends and black best friends for most of my life, has been involved in hip hop culture, dated a black woman for 5 years.
True. But you said I remember you saying like when the Mike Brown thing happened, there was a disconnect.
So imagine through all this stuff, right, is happening, right? And then I'm not the white person that just is not around black people. Right. So it's something to where like it took me this long, all the way up to the Mike Brown situation for it to click a little bit. Yeah. And then everything that happened afterwards to click even a little bit more. Yep. If it took me that long.
Right.
Imagine a person that's just meeting a black person for the first time in college.
Man, that's a good point. That's a good point.
So I have a little bit of grace when it comes to that.
It's a good point.
But at the same time, it's super frustrating from, I mean, I'm sure you guys, I don't even know if you guys are even black people in general are frustrated or if it's just you indoctrinated to just accept it.
We're just so used to.
That's what I mean. You know what I mean? Like,
white people not getting it.
That's what I mean. So
I just don't care. I can't carry.
Exactly. Which makes sense. You know what I mean? And so I went through a phase where I cared very much and I was, and I had some time where I there's still family members I don't talk to anymore because they, it's one of those things. It's like, I understand why they don't understand.
Yep.
But I don't understand why they can't like listen to me.
Yeah.
And it's like,
because they married.
Perhaps.
Bring it back home.
Yeah. I see what he did there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's,
I've always given you, your flowers for how you approach this conversation and this talk, but I think it's also it's an educational way that you do it because you're speaking about it from your personal experiences, but I feel like there are people that can pick up game from what you say based off your experiences. It's not about just everybody, let's just have the white guy talk about this. This came up through actual dialogue, but I think there's value in what you say because there might be said person that we talked about, use as an example, that might look at it and be like, yo, I never thought about it like that. Or I like how open-minded he is. Or I like the fact that he actually took time to learn and do research and feel better about it and go through the progressions to get to where you are. I think there's value there.
I mean, I appreciate it, I guess. And I mean, I do. It's just, it's an interesting conversation. It's a hard conversation to have.
For sure.
I mean, not for me.
But I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? But in general, like to get to that point, to get to the point to where you're ready to talk and have those conversations, like,
yeah,
it's a process for everyone.
Yeah,
100%.
It's a process, and I understand. I understand some people just can't.
They're not there yet,
and they probably will never be there.